if you understand what AI can do, then you will know how to use it for the right process and also where not to use it.
My name is Bright Obeng. I'm the host of the CFO podcast, which is focused on the Flemish and Brussels region in Belgium. And with our podcast, we want to inform, inspire, and pretty much trigger the thinking of CFOs. In my line of work, I'm also a headhunter focusing on these two profiles in this region. AI is becoming like a beast that everybody talks about, but don't really want to open the door and really see what the possibilities are. And the noise is becoming bigger and bigger, but there is not enough signal. And so I reached out to Nicolas, who I know quite some time, and I said, look, we need to do something about this because it is just a matter of time before the CFOs that I have in my network will really be struggling because the tools are going to become faster and faster, and the faster you adopt them, and the faster you have your learning curve. So that is actually the biggest motivation. And last but not least, I think one of our podcast episode really blew up with the CFO of the University of Antwerp. I think it's the third biggest university, where he spoke about AI, and there was a lot of engagement, a lot of views, and that was a very clear message that, okay, this is something that we need to address because there is a lot of misunderstanding on it. So yeah, very, very happy to be here and looking forward to this session with you, Nicolas. So Nicolas, as you just said, I will play the role of, I would say, the pessimistic CFO or finance director that is on the fence, is not really sure what to do. So the first question that I have for you is, can you just help me take it from the top? Like, I am super pessimistic. What is AI for finance? What does it really mean?
So first, like AI, like the definition of AI, now like everybody's using it as a buzzword to just represent kind of intelligence in tools. And if you want to explain to somebody what is AI, let's just use Excel. Excel, if you ask Excel to do a sum, and every week you are like putting your numbers inside, and you always ask at the end, you type a formula for a sum. It doesn't matter how many times you are going to do this work, you will always have to put yourself the formula inside to get the result. So it's always, it will work always in one way, and it will never improve. But AI, on the opposite, will start learning that you actually always want a sum, you are always doing this. So like step after step, it will learn from you and start to have intelligence and help you do some actions. So like in a really nutshell is this. So then based on this, there is like a lot of usage, and we are not only using AI since ChatGPT is there. ChatGPT was a great way to democratize the use of AI, but in finance, actually, we were one of the first functions using AI since a long time. And for everybody who can imagine your payable process when you were using the OCR to read the PDFs, to recognize the words on it, and to send that to your ERP. That was already AI. But now what is the big difference is, instead of having a human between your invoice and the ERP to explain, okay, if you see invoice number, it needs to go in the ERP in the invoice number field. Now you have a new technology which works really well, is the NLP. NLP is natural language processing. And this technology understands the word. So instead of having the human saying, oh, when there is invoice number, go into the ERP and map it there, the NLP will read it and will understand and will map it for you. And like this, you can already save a lot of time. And really now, since 2 years that you have all of these LLMs and ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, I think what it has brought to all of us is this human feeling that before AI didn't have. Because before we were just coding AI, now we are speaking with our own words. And again, thanks to NLP, so natural language processing. And that's like the big change for us as users, not as technicians, because all of the data scientists and IT people, they already were using AI before. And so for finance, what does it mean is now, as non-technical, as non-IT people, we have more ambition about using AI, and we are actually like really demanding. We want to use it now. We want AI to do our calculation. We want AI to automate. We want AI to forecast. But if you want to do that, you need to take a step back and understand what AI can do. And that's the goal of today, because if you understand what AI can do, then you will know how to use it for the right process, and also where not to use it. Because I think we do a lot of mistake today to think that AI can do everything, which is not the case.
Okay, so thanks for the broad overview. I think it sets the stage for what is coming. For me, what is important is to, figuratively speaking, to take our hand and move us through, okay, what does it really look like from a practical stand of view? How do you get started? What are the core processes that can be aided with AI? What are the core processes that are a bit difficult to work with AI? And what are the use cases? So I'm just going to cut you loose and let you do your thing, but take it away, and I will just jump in between and ask the tough questions, or the nasty questions, if I may put it that way, just to make sure that someone who is really, really a bit on the fence gets the highest amount of value from this. So yeah, take it away.
So what I propose is to show you 3 use cases. The first one being you as a person, as somebody who is busy all day long with computers, with emails, with basically like your personal task. How can you use AI to be yourself more productive? That's the first one. And then the second one is, what can you do with your team, with your finance team? And then the third one, what can you do as a finance function to bring also more value for the business? So the first use case that I want to share is on productivity. And on productivity, we have something that everybody can have access right now, are those LLM tools, those generative AI tools. One example here is ChatGPT. And I don't think like it's new for all of you that ChatGPT writes very well, but you need to have what I call so AI first approach. And each time you have to think about new ideas, creating text, writing emails, translating, or even doing some research, or speaking to other teams about a finance problem, like here, IFRS 16. How can you use ChatGPT to make this work much faster, but also much better? And because even if we are finance people, we actually work a lot with text. And you can see that this is really fast to get this answer. So here, the same way that I have it on the right side, you should have always on the right side in your computer, you should have like a ChatGPT window open or something similar to help you have like a second brain.
So are you trying to say that instead of the typical way, if you have a tax question, you refer to a law book, or you refer to a tax clause somewhere, that this tool can aid you as a finance director or CFO to move through that huge amount of text much faster?
Yeah. Like, imagine tomorrow, and that was my personal case 2-3 weeks ago. I got a contract with a client, and there was a lot of clause about like liability, what I can do, what I cannot do. And instead of calling a lawyer and spending 1,000 euros on a consulting fee, I first put the contract inside and ask, okay, like what is good practice, what is bad practice, like where should I pay attention, what do you propose? And just by doing that, I save first a lot of money. Second, I saved a lot of time. And third, I also like improve my position because I was a better negotiator in my contract. And that's AI first approach, meaning that you don't start like to work like before where, oh, I will call a lawyer or I will research online, like typical. No, you talk with AI. And I see like some questions saying like, yeah, you have to be careful. Yes, but the same way that if I will ask a lawyer a question, I will also like be careful, like where does it come from? Like, do you have an example with a client that where it happened? Because as an individual and as a manager, you always need to be critical about all of the input you receive from all of the side. So here is the same way.
Okay, thank you.
And if we continue on the productivity side, there is a big aspect of us today not using enough the tools that we have at our disposal. And one example here is the tools like Excel, like PowerPoint, Word, Power BI. And I know like some of you think, oh, maybe it's only for my team, but the more I see people joining the AI Finance Club, the more they tell me, I still have my hands in the weed. I still work a lot with Excel, with SAP, with PowerPoint. And I have a lot of example in the AI Finance Club of people who did that. Each time they have a problem, they go in ChatGPT or Claude, they ask how to solve it, and they get straight away an answer where they get the formula given to them by ChatGPT that they can use straight away. And as an example, one of the CFO that is in the AI Finance Club, he is a CFO of a company that is building software for aviation. And one of his tasks, like a lot of CFOs, is to have a cash flow forecasting model to know, okay, how much cash we need from the bank, like how much cash can we also place in the bank if we have some excess of treasury. And before using AI to do this model, he was spending one day to run a forecast every month. Then what he did is he sat down and started writing better formulas, writing script to pull data, writing a model inside Excel and Google Sheet that will build this model, but he was writing it with AI, having his free consultant, improving the model and fasten the process. And now his model takes 5 seconds to generate a new forecast.
Okay, hold on. So I'm sure there are CFOs on this session who think, wow, this is really, really impressive. Use AI as your personal IT, Excel, whatever consultant to build stuff. There is a learning curve. If you start the journey today, this example you just gave, I'm sure it took quite some time. Can you give us just some indication how fast can this go? Because if you're able to build a cash flow that is push a button kind of output, it will save you a huge amount of time. And I also hope there is some kind of error detection built in so that when you're reading, you know that what you're reading makes sense. How fast can this go?
So let me show you actually how a process like this looks like.
Okay, bring it on.
So it's more theoretical because if I have to show you all of the process, will take like 2 hours to explain all of the steps. Imagine here this FP&A agent will start first by collecting data. And today we do a lot of manual tasks here. But what you could do is you can ask AI to code a way to collect this data, either through APIs, through emails, SharePoint, or Google Drive, to feed directly into tools that will process the data. Then, once you have processed the data, so that, for example, you have 2 files and you combine them in one, or you clean some data, then you can start doing your analysis because your data is clean, is available to be analyzed. And you can do that in Excel or Google Sheet and Python. And all of these analyses, again, you use AI to improve the way you calculate the KPIs, that there is no manual work. And then the last part is a bit more, I would say, advanced and recent, is how to make commentaries using what I explained before, the NLP, so natural language processing, because those LLMs, like today, if you give some data into ChatGPT, it will make sense of it. And so you can start getting draft of commentaries if you feed also those tools. And you can do that today manually, but you can also build an agent behind that does this work. And finally, you can also build a solution that with a script will feed a PowerPoint that the PowerPoint is automatically done, or a Google slide, or even a live web dashboard, like something that I just did a few minutes ago. You can build.
Nicolas, if I don't mind, I have a feeling there is a slight delay on the line. I don't know if others are seeing this as well.
You can see the
yes, yes, there was a slight delay on the line. Yes.
Okay, so now you can see here, for example, this is a model that I built in Claude, and each time I change, for example, customer growth to 7%, it will change my model. Or if I change the average basket. And this was done just in a few minutes with Claude. And that as a CFO, I can build a model like this really like in 5-10 minutes. And I don't know how much time will have taken me if I have to go to a IT team to build all of the interface, if I have to write all of the code. But here, it was literally just 2 questions. I can even like show you the discussion in the history to show to everybody that it was first, I want to build a business plan for a retail brand. What type of dynamic dashboard could I build? Then it started thinking about that and then starting building it. And now, so I add more questions like I want to have number of stores, average basket. And the difference between somebody who can do that and somebody who cannot do that is, am I able to ask the right question? And do I know as a finance person how to build a model? Because I know that number of stores, average basket per client, number of client per month, and gross per month have an impact on my revenue and my cost. And because I know that.
So essentially what you're saying is before you build a model, you need to have your KPIs very much in mind before you build a model, which makes sense.
You need to know your business. You know what are the big leverage, because when the CEO asks us a question about how is the next 12 months looking like, or how can we reach next month 10% more EBIT, we know in our mind as CFOs, yes, like I know exactly like if I reduce by 20% this cost, and if here I accelerate the sales order at the end of the month, then I can reach the EBIT. And because we have that, then we can build the models by asking the right questions.
Okay. Okay.
So that was the productivity side. Okay. You can see already as an individual.
Okay.
You can do a lot.
But then, I have a quick question, if you don't mind. Someone posted a question. What is the difference between ChatGPT and Copilot?
So you have, so what I showed you was Claude, the last, so there is not much difference. The 2 best ones right now are really ChatGPT and Claude. The advantage with ChatGPT is you have a lot of functionalities, but you don't have this dashboard functionality that I just did. And I'm sure they are coming in a few weeks with this functionality. So OpenAI and ChatGPT, what is good, they are always the first one. If we talk about Copilot in Microsoft, they use the technology from OpenAI, but on top, they have in the middle the Microsoft graph, what they call, and that makes things a bit more slow, but for a company also more secure because you can control what is happening. And OpenAI like doesn't, it's secure, is as secure as Microsoft, but Microsoft will have like, you can detect if a user do something weird. And I think OpenAI, depending on the plan you have, you don't really have this functionality. And also Microsoft, you will also use all of the Azure platform, so you don't have to buy something new. And that's also a difference with OpenAI.
Okay, thanks. So moving to the first one was, we're going to focus on the CFO, the finance director. Now we move to the team. How does it look like?
Yes. So let me tell you a story about when I took over a finance team in one of my last experience as a as a finance director of a manufacturing company. So I took the team. I knew that people will leave for retirement, and I loved this challenge. So I got a team that started with 11 people and was reduced to 7 just in a matter of 3 months. And so one task that was there, we had to process the receipts for people going to the restaurant, for people going on travel. And like I thought, like, okay, like it's 50 euros bill, 100 euros bill is not really important. We don't have enough people, let's put them aside. And after 1 month, we got more and more employees starting to come and ask for their money. So I said to all of the team, okay, like let's sit down in one room, let's put the pile of receipts in front of us and just let's process. And I've never done that in my life. And I started to start to understand what is the rule, and then starting to process that in SAP. And I can tell you that was the most boring thing I did almost in my career, and the less exciting thing. And when we think about us in finance, when we think about also after COVID, like nobody wants to do this type of work. And on top, like we have to be honest between us, like when we do that, we are not like using really our brains so that much. So if we see a bill that is weird, we're not really going to start like to call for 5 euros difference and say, oh, like, why is that? We are just either going to decline or accept it, but we are not going to spend a lot of work. Well, now this task, you don't want your team to have to do that. Instead, what you want to have a tool that does that for you, and a tool that does that for you faster, a tool that does that also better, because if your team is not focused and not concentrated to do that, then a lot of problems will go, and you will pay maybe twice the same bill. If 2 employees go to the restaurant, each of them, they take a copy of the receipt, they could ask twice the money, you will never know it. And so an example of a tool doing that, just showing you, is, so Raidu is doing that, for example. And so imagine this bill here from Japan. Like how, as a person, how will you be able to read this? How will you be able to recognize that on this bill, on the second item, there is a cigar? And that based on your rules, a cigar is not allowed. Like it's impossible. So this works with AI, where AI recognizes first reads with OCR the characters. Then the second part of AI with NLP will translate. And the third part, we will understand that the cigar is an item that is not allowed. And because of this, we will basically reject this invoice or ask for correction. And now you will basically have this process done faster with less people, but also you will make sure your compliance is higher and that your staff will only focus on this like 10 receipts per month that are problematic instead of having to process 1,000 of receipts.
Okay. This, in my mind, for most CFOs, is not a big problem, unless you have so many exceptions that you need to spend time on. Yeah. But what other things can a CFO or finance director implement within their team to really increase the productivity and save time?
Well, you saw like that was a receipt, but you can do that with invoice.
Okay.
One story as well is in the same factory, we had every week new contracts coming. And those contracts were PDF, paper. And when they were coming, basically was the start of starting to book it in the system, starting also to plan the forecast, the cash with it. And we were all relying on one person taking the contract, going in Excel and column by column, entering the details of the contract. And we called this file the Bible because it has basically all of the details of the contract. The problem is when this person was on holiday, then we had to wait 1 week before we had the data. The problem is when this person did a mistake, then we noticed only 3 months after that the price was wrong or the unit number was wrong. The problem also is that not everybody was aware that this list existed. So people were redoing 80% of the work on their own in their own Excel file. The other problem, like fourth problem, is that it was not connected to the ERP. So you had no check, you had also no input from the list. So because of this, it was a lot of manual process. And it was actually the start of what we call the O to C process. So order to cash. And if we look at the order to cash, let me look at the process. I will just call it here. That's where we can use AI at a lot of steps. So you see, like at order management, instead of having to do it manually, AI can read the contract and understand the contract and then basically either put that in a flat table that is connected to your ERP or even put it in your ERP directly. Then credit management, you can have AI predict the credit risk. If you have a huge credit management team, you can replace some of the checks, some of the models with AI tools, because AI is really good at predicting trend and looking at historical data to look at risk.
If I can jump onto that, regarding the tools that you are talking about, I think there was a quick question regarding Raidu, but I think there are other. We are not pushing any software here, just to make it clear.
No, it's just examples.
There are other tools in the market that can do exactly the same thing, right?
Yes, yes.
And I have another question regarding credit. I know that a lot of these credit information firms are now becoming more and more embedded and connected to the companies. So it means I'm just thinking out here. Nicolas, please correct me if I'm wrong. I can imagine that adding an AI layer over it, you can use your data to predict these things from a credit perspective much faster. Is that correct?
Yeah, so today the credit process is really a lot manual. Like people will go and search, or you will have to pay a tool.
Yeah, sure.
But those tools, like if they don't use AI or if they are not using AI, you are basically either you don't have the right or the most accurate tool, or I think you pay too much, because if they don't leverage AI, then you have humans behind, or you have too much humans. You need to have humans, but they should have enough data that the AI tools will predict better than humans what are the risks for the companies. And so, yeah, like today, like if you're a big company, normally you have a team that does credit management. If you're a small company, you buy a tool for that, or you have like a mini process. Then on the invoicing, you can start also like adjusting the invoicing, also looking at creating the invoicing based on the contract. And then where it starts to be interesting is on collection, because today the process of collecting money is either rule-based, meaning that, oh, the invoice is late, let's send the same reminder to everybody. Then second reminder, okay, third reminder, and then we start to call. Well, there are tools today that will recognize first, okay, this client always pay on the 15th of the month. I'm going to send a reminder like one day before it pays. Let's not do that, because we know historically it always pays the 15th of the month. So it might be that is like officially late, but let's wait one day after their official payment day, which I know because AI notified that from the past. And as a human, you can do that when you have 5 clients. So you don't need AI. But if you have 1,000, 10,000 clients, you don't know individually, client by client, what is their payment patterns. So that's first. Second, you could start also having your reminders that are tailored thanks to the LLMs, where those LLMs will know, oh, this client, there is the name of this person, there is this project, there is this product. Then let's do an adapted reminder that will feel that is tailored to them. And the third part, you can have AI voice agent that call your client and say, hi, I am the AI voice agent of company ABC. I'm calling you because you have an invoice that is not paid. Here is everything you need to do to pay. Let me know if I need to send you an email with all of the details. And this will also help you accelerate the payment because you will talk to person with this AI voice agent.
Yeah. Can we talk a bit about the voice agents? Because this is, for me, a hot topic right now. As in other industries, voice agents are being deployed at a very, very high level. I don't see it a lot within credit collection and cash collection. I know we have different countries here, but from a European perspective, people are very, very hesitant. If I get a call and it says I'm an AI agent, I won't pick up, to be very, very honest. It's just a bit weird to me. How do you see this development globally?
Well, let's get out of finance a bit. Let's think of us as individual. I'm sure in Europe, unfortunately, and especially if I compare to Singapore when I was in Singapore, if you want to get an appointment with your doctor, is like so complicated. Like almost none of them will have a page where you can do like Calendly, where you can book yourself. Like you have to call, then nobody answer. Then if you have the chance to have an email, then they will just like give you like a list of appointments that are not fitting your calendar. And maybe like you had like just a stupid question where you just wanted to book like your new prescription. Well, if instead of that, you could just call and just have like an AI agent saying, hey, I just want to have like an appointment or I just need like this prescription. Would you take that? Yes or no?
I might, yeah.
And so here you have to be transparent that yes, we are using AI. You can opt out. It's just for your convenience because like this, you will have more accurate information on time and you are not dependent on if the humans are there or not. And you could also have an AI agent that is there to answer to the questions from your vendors, where like people want to know, oh, when am I going to get paid? What is the status of my invoice? You could have that either as a chatbot, or you can have that as an AI voice agent. And as long as it improves the value that you have with your stakeholders, and as long as you are transparent about it, because you should not pretend that is somebody real. If it's
for sure not.
Because people will like you might breach, like we are talking about cultural. I think the trust, you might break the trust if you are hiding that you are using AI.
Okay, thanks for that.
And so the third part, because I think
this
is a promise that everybody got about AI is like, oh, AI can do my forecasting. And yes, in theory, AI is really good to look at the past to forecast. But you need to understand how. And you need also to understand when to do it, when not to do it. And the technology to do that is called machine learning. Mm-hmm. If I say this word, you might be scared because machine learning, you think, oh, that's not for me, and not even like in finance. Well, let's look at what we do when we forecast. A lot of time, what we do is we look at the last 2-3 years, or if we have been in the business for long enough, we have kind of like in our brain, our experience is there and we know how the business behave. We know in August, there is like maybe like a hole in the sales. We know that in December, like a lot of things are pushed. We know maybe March is a busy month. And we will just plan with like, you know, like you have 100% of the year, instead of divided by 12, you might put a bit more in March, a bit less in August, and you might do that manually. Well, you can actually do that with the machine. The machine can also look at the past and learn from it. And that's just what is called machine learning. It's exactly what you did now with the seasonality, what you have in your brain or what you have with like looking at the last 3 years. The machine does exactly that. And let me show you an example to simplify that, because it's important to know that machine learning can be really simple. So this is really important to know that we can all do that now. We don't need to have a team of data scientists. So if you see here, forecasting with AI using machine learning, there is an algorithm that is Prophet. It is made by Meta, so the Facebook company. And to run this algorithm, you need only 2 things. You need a file where on the first column, you have your date. So let's imagine you have 365 days. Then it's 365 days in one column. So like day one, day two, so just the date. And then in the second column, you need to have an amount. Could be your volume, could be your sales in euro, could be also the number of hours booked. It doesn't matter. It's what you are going to forecast. And then you will have just a Python code using this Prophet to run the algorithm. And you don't need to know how to code because ChatGPT can do it for you. And it will give you this output where you have in black all of the historical data. And we can see us with our own eyes that there is a pattern. We can see that there is a seasonality. And then if you continue the seasonality plus the trend, because there is also an increase over time, you can see here that you can build a forecast that takes in account this seasonality. And to show you how really simple is the code is only like this here, saying you load the data and we do that over 365 days, and we are using the model Prophet. And that's all. Like the only thing here at the bottom, you say, oh, make a graph from that. And this was done with ChatGPT. And this shows you that you don't need a data scientist to start forecasting with AI. And yes, here is a bit simplistic because I want for everybody to understand. And of course, your business is maybe not as simple. But to make things simple in life is like when you're doing your forecast with your team, you don't forecast the revenue as one line. You might do the forecast by type of product or by countries or even by sales manager. Well, here's the same. You are going to do the line of your P&L. You are going to look inside it if there are some lines that alone will be good candidate to use the AI to forecast these lines. And that's what...
Nicolas, sorry for interrupting. Very interesting too. I'm very happy to hear that it's a no-brainer, no-code thing. Also good to see that it's just two columns. Can you add multiple, can you do this on various, so you can slice and dice, as you just said, you have the date and the volume, hours, whatever, but can you slice it and say, I want to see the same thing, but based on sales manager, product level, maybe within a factory setting, show me all the downtime that we had. Can we forecast the downtime and forecast my capacity based on the downtime? If our volume is going to increase 20%, do we even have the capacity to work that? Can this tool, this very, very simple tool, take on multiple scenarios or multiple variables and forecast them on the graph you just showed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So here you have to think about building bricks. So this is one model that is really good with seasonality, we could see.
Okay.
Then you have other model, like one is, again, the name is really fancy and scare people, but it's just what we do all the time, is linear regression. And linear regression
statistics.
Oh, like if I increase my marketing spend, do I increase my sales? If I increase my number of sales representatives, do I increase my sales? And so you have like these two components that work together, and you can have that on a bit more complex items, but you can have that on top, meaning, okay, over the year, let's see how much is my revenue, and then on top I add the seasonality. So I have now the two algorithms that I can use together. Then you can have another one, which is kind of having multiple scenarios. And that's what you have with either Monte Carlo or random forest, where you kind of do the average of the scenarios. And that's where, if you want to do that as a person in Excel, your brain and your Excel capacity are going to have a limit. But the machines are really good with this, because if you ask them to build different scenarios where each time it's increased the potential or the possible scenarios, you cannot as a human do it, but the machine will do it.
Okay.
That's where you will use this algorithm to have another forecast. And CFOs, I met CFOs of Microsoft and Coca-Cola, who are the two best companies who are doing forecasting already since 5 to 10 years with machine learning. And what they do is they look at the business. They took a lot of time, like everywhere. They got a lot of support. They got a lot of consultant. But at the end, what they do is they look at the minimum level where they could use an algorithm. And then they will have a proposed machine learning forecast. Then the CFO will come on top and will maybe add 1 or 2 parameters that are only known to him or known to humans, because maybe yesterday you were in a meeting and you know like the factory tomorrow is going to close. So the AI doesn't know that, so you have to factor that in. But the two together will propose, then after the CFO will propose a forecast. And Coca-Cola and Microsoft both went from like a rolling forecast, which took them like 1 to 2 weeks, to now in a few hours, each CFOs of each country, they can propose a forecast because they have the data plus the algorithm on top, and then their knowledge of the business. And in few hours, they propose a forecast to the headquarters.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I have a difficult question for you. As an ex-business controller, I understand that this tool and AI is going to really help a lot from the FP&A perspective. But I would like to take it a bit back to the backbone, to the core processes, where I think a lot of CFOs and finance directors are very hesitant on. Looking at legal reporting, looking at tax reporting, looking at all these, which have a lot of turns and twists from the national tax framework perspective. How do you see AI play a role? Do you see any optimization from that perspective or not?
So, like, can you give an example of where you see the difference?
Yeah. Let me put it very bluntly. Is there a tool that can help to have a seamless VAT process from the documents coming in or being produced way up to the VAT return being put together with virtually no human touch? It has built-in checks. Of course, a human being needs to make some checks. Are there tools around? Because I talk to loads and loads of CFOs on a weekly basis, and the things that already come back is, look, anything around finance, we see the potential, but please, when it comes to the core processes, hold on. It needs to be airtight, because you also have huge ramifications, not for the business, but also against the law and something like that. So how do you see that? How do you see that play out?
Yeah, so that's where you will not really have, and I can show like the list of tools just after, but that's where AI agents are going to come handy. Because today, if you look at what an individual person who is doing the VAT process, what they do is they first look on the invoice you received or the invoice you send. Then you look also in your ERP. If you are lucky, your ERP is well parametered and you can get out from the ERP a list of VAT to deduct or VAT to remit. And then you have like your different categories of VAT, and then you need to go manually in the system. Or if you are lucky, maybe your country has like an upload process. Or if you're even more lucky, like your ERP has a plugin where you can plug to the to the country. But I think like I've almost never seen that. I don't, or maybe for big companies. And so you see the humans is going like in a lot of different tools, mixing between what they get data, they also like move data or correct, they reconcile, then they send the data or input the data. And you will almost not have one tool that does it from beginning to the end, because it's a bit too much parameters, and it costs too much to create a tool to that. But what you'll have is you will have an agent which will act as a human and will pull data. Then we'll have that in the process where if you need to reconcile, if you need to enrich the data, you will create then your report for VAT. And then this agent then will upload that into the system of your administration. And these agents, the advantage right now is you can more and more like code these agents at a really low cost, because coding is becoming really like commodity. And also the tools to do that are accessible to everybody. And so I think one way of finance teams to start saving times on this is to have 1 or 2% in the team, and also like slowly that everybody gets on board, but to start with a mix between low code and code to start building this automation. And that's where also AI is kind of revitalizing or reviving the dream of the finance transformation project process where everything should be digitalized. And why? Because I think people now, like, again, they are motivated to do it again because there are more hopes. There is also more money coming in because AI project management believe it again. And third, also, it costs less to do it. And it's more, you don't need like a team of 20 consultants. You either need like one consultant, or you can do it internally with your team, or with maybe like a digital team within your company. So unfortunately, there are like almost no tool that cover like from beginning to the end, but we'll start seeing those agents popping out. And I encourage everybody to start small with this agent, because you can today, like, even like what I did like 2 weeks ago, because I'm just like an individual person, so I don't need to have an ERP, but I build an agent that creates invoice without that I have to go and create the invoice myself. And I did that with just coding AI and Google Doc and Google Sheets. And then I have like Zapier behind that triggers based on an email. Yes, like create the invoice, and then it's done. And so this is something everybody can start today. And as like 1 year ago, a lot of things were not possible, but now are possible. And 1 year in the future, more also, you'll have more possibilities. So start today to be ready in the future as well.
Okay. So the question that I have, maybe based on that, using agents and all of these things, is there is for sure a difference in regulations within the US, China, and Europe. And there are some CFOs, most probably on this session, that are leading global teams. The framework is different. So how should they go around with this? Because not all these countries or jurisdictions have the same framework. So the ability to leverage AI is obviously it's a bit difficult because you have different frameworks. How do you see that?
So I think we take like the EU. There is like an EU AI Act, and
yes,
everybody read in the news, like Europe is super hard. We cannot do anything with the data. Well, I think almost nobody read the act if they think that, because I read it and because I have to explain to people, and only banks, only like big institutions are really concerned by this EU AI Act, because it basically says if you are a systemic company, we need to understand what you do with AI. Like, we need to understand if you approve a credit and AI is behind, what can go wrong? Like, can you give credit to the wrong person and then that the whole financial system goes wrong? Or is everything well under control for you? And if you are a manufacturing company producing steel tubes for, like, you're not interesting for the EU Parliament. So I think, and everybody here, like, I recognize some names, is almost everybody here is not from a bank or from a financial institution. So EU Act, yes, you need to be aware, but really in comparison with the US is no change. What people are afraid of is everything about data security. And I want to remind everybody, and let me show you also some slides, that the data security problem is not new. Like 15 years ago or 20 years ago, we started to transfer our data in the cloud. Like most of you today, your emails, they are somewhere in the cloud. Either you use Outlook or you use Google Cloud. Maybe like most of your software are SaaS software, so your really business information are not stored in your servers. So it's not new. And also, probably some of you, you have translated some contracts or some documents in a tool like DeepL or Google Translate, and you never thought about data security. But when you were doing that, you were already breaching your contract, because your contract says that only use company tools for business information. So
Okay.
I just want to remind, like, it's not new.
Yeah. Okay.
But what is really good is, thanks to AI, we are reminded of the importance of data security. And because we are reminded, then it's not because we are reminded that we should stop working. Like, we have to work, we have to be efficient. So yes, super, everybody is aware of it. Now don't stay in the conservative mode saying, okay, I will not do anything because I don't know what I can do. No, you have been aware that you have to pay attention. Now go to the next step, which is educate yourself. And educate yourself is as simple as going to the website of OpenAI or Microsoft and just read what they do with our data, which standard they have. And they have the same standard that the tools that I just showed you before, Amazon or Azure. And I think everybody here like did enough study to be able to understand what is written here. So do your homework. And then once you have done your homework, then go back to your IT team and show them, okay, like those tools are using these standards. Is it something that is okay based on our compliance and data criteria? And because you just did the work and you talk with them, then most probably it will be a yes. And then you can go on and work. And that's really the difference between doers and waiters. Like, you need to learn, and you will see that is actually not a problem because they use the same standards than everybody else. But now you can move on and use these tools.
Okay. Nicolas, we need to watch the time, but two last questions, and then we are done. There is a huge concern when I speak to I would say next gen finance leaders. So sometimes I have the opportunity to speak to business controllers or finance managers, and some of them are a bit concerned that, okay, hold on, if finance is going to be revolutionized by AI, generative AI, and all these things, do I even have a future in finance? I obviously think they do, but I think we also need to address these concerns so that CFOs and finance directors at least take this into account when they start to implement these tools. How do you see that? Do you have any example? Please keep it short, of teams that have gone through this process and how the CFO was able to at least calm the teams down and say, look, obviously this is going to save us time, but the time that we save, we will use for this. How do you see that?
Yeah, so I had the chance to train teams like from 100 different companies like Mercedes-Benz, also SaaS tools, or in the US like Poshmark, KPMG, Chanel. And each time there is like skepticism with AI. Like, you have always the first mover and the pioneer, like 5-10%. Then you have in the middle people that have tried, but they are not sure. And then you have resistance. And it's like change management. We all know, I'm not going to explain like this curve.
Sure.
Everybody heard about that. And once I do like this 2 hours training with them and they try by themselves how to use Gen AI, then like their eye gets bigger. The possibilities of what they can do with this just augment. And what is happening is, first, you have no fear anymore because people have more understanding what they can do, what they cannot do, and also the limitations. That's first. Then their ambition to use it just increase. They are like thinking about many ways, expedition about how I can improve my model that takes me 1 day today. Now, tomorrow, maybe I do it in 30 minutes. And then they will start exploring tools that will help processes where they are all complaining and they know they are not doing the work correctly because they don't have the capacity or they don't have the competence. They will start to look at this to implement AI there. And I mean, it's not all pink and all like all happy. There is a process. It's really important that the team continue after to exchange on the use cases. But I see people that they don't spend any more time on writing super long documentation about something nobody's going to read. They do it like in 10 minutes with ChatGPT. They don't get stuck into their ERP or Excel. Thanks to that, they stop processing invoices or receipts and they let that to AI. And some of them started even to create their own chatbot, which reply to questions from other departments. For example, how do I get reimbursed? What is the policy? What I'm allowed to expense, what not? What is the CapEx and OpEx criteria? What is the budget process? You can create, just in a matter of 2 minutes, a mini bot in ChatGPT that can answer to 80% of the questions you always receive if you just upload the document that is usually saved on internet, but that nobody looks at. And that's really a great way to start.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. One last question. So let's say I'm the pessimistic CFO. I have heard your story and I say, okay, let me dip my toes. How do I get started? I mean, from the 3 levels, for yourself, for your team, and also to create the buy-in the rest of the companies. What are the baby steps that I can take? So what are the tools?
That's why what I did, and everybody who is here today or registered, they will receive that. I did like a 5 free email course that explains you like where to start, where to use AI as a CFO, but also with your team, and show you examples and show you frameworks. So you will receive that as from tomorrow in your mailbox, and or even this afternoon. I will do that this afternoon. So you will receive that, and you will start seeing and learning by yourself. And I'm sure after that, you will have a lot of questions for me.
Okay. Nicolas, I'm extremely grateful for your time. We promised 1 hour and we are sticking to that. I hope it was really a good session for you as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either Nicolas or me. And hopefully this is the first steps for you to kickstart your journey into AI as a CFO or finance director. Thank you so much. You all have a great day and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.